If Texas's Bijan Robinson was eligible for the 2022 NFL Draft, there's a decent chance he would have been the first running back taken. Breece Hall went to the Jets with the 36th pick, Kenneth Walker to the Seahawks at 41, and James Cook to the Bills at 63. Out of these running backs, Robinson might be the most complete prospect. Not only is he an excellent runner, but he's also dangerous as a receiver too. To go along with his 1,100 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns on the ground, he also gained an additional 300 yards and 4 touchdowns through the air. At one point, he was considered a Heisman candidate, but a dislocated elbow ended his season early. As a primer to the 2022 college season, I wanted to look at his skill set. I wanted to see what Robinson offers to a future NFL team. Before we begin though, if you can do me a huge favor and like and subscribe to my channel, I would greatly appreciate it. So anyways, let's look at Robinson's advanced stats. In my opinion, the ability to slip tackles is one of the most important skill sets for a running back. It allows you to create yards on your own. Robinson is elite in this ability. On over 200 touches last year, Robinson had a 39% missed tackle rate. As you can see, this is better than the top running backs in the 2022 NFL Draft. Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall were both in the low 30s. A 39% broken tackle rate is ridiculous, and it's higher than many of the other top running backs that have come out of the last few years. I want to show you an example of how Robinson combines his burst and quick footwork all to set up his runs. Take this example that happened against Texas Tech in the second quarter. The Longhorns were lining up in pistol on their own 49-yard line. Texas was using 12 personnel with 2 tight ends on the left side of the formation. Their goal with this alignment was to overload the boundary. They ran outside zone to the left. Right from the start, the Longhorns had a clear numbers advantage. They had 7 blockers on the line of scrimmage, while Texas Tech only had 6 men in the box. This is a good reason why the Longhorns snapped the ball early in the snap count so the defense couldn't adjust. After the snap, Robinson started his run to the left. His path is to aim for the first tight end or number 18 on the play. After taking his 5th step, he'll read the line of scrimmage and then put his left leg in the ground to make his cut to get vertical. That's what he does here. Since Robinson is reading the play outside in, starting with the end man on the line of scrimmage, he sees that his tight end on the outside can't hold his block. The defender spiked inside, making his way into the backfield. Now normally in this situation, the running back is taught to bounce the run outside and hit the open space by the numbers. However, Robinson cut back inside. My guess is the angle created by the end man was too tight for Robinson, and this is why he didn't break to the sideline. He probably thought the backside hole was safer. Regardless, his full press before cutting vertically, it allowed him to set this up. It also allowed his offensive line to secure the blocks. Robinson cut right behind the butt of the right guard, and he made his way to the second level. He used another jump cut to avoid the tackle from the backside safety, and he spun forward to stay on his feet. He then kept powering through the run, and he ended this play going for an additional 5 yards on the ground. This type of play was routine for Robinson. It highlights his ability not only to fight for extra yards, but his ability to scan the offensive line and give his blockers time to seal their angles. The Longhorns run a zone running scheme, so this is a very important trait. Before we look at our next example, I want to give a huge shout out to HelloFresh for sponsoring this video. HelloFresh is here to make eating better and easier. No grocery stores, no stressful meal planning, just everything to prepare a wholesome, delicious meal all delivered to your door. This week, my wife and I tried the Thai coconut pork meatballs. It was so incredibly good. The produce was fresh and had a ton of flavor, the meat was portioned perfectly for us to share, and the recipe was so easy to follow and made the entire experience effortless. They have foolproof step-by-step recipes that make cooking simple and fun. Plus, they even offer quick and easy recipes that can be finished in under 20 minutes. Now, not only was everything delicious, but what I love about HelloFresh is how their pre-portioned ingredients help you cut down on prep time and also help you waste less food. HelloFresh cuts down your food waste by at least 25% compared to grocery shopping. If you go to HelloFresh.com and use my code SAMGOLD16, you can get 16 free meals and 3 surprise gifts. Again, go to HelloFresh.com and use my code SAMGOLD16 to get 16 free meals and 3 surprise gifts. Getting back to the breakdown, I wanted to look at another example. Outside of using a zone stretch type run like we saw earlier, Sarkisian uses gap plays to hit the backside of the defense. This play calling is very similar to a Sean McVay or a Kyle Shanahan offense. Robinson is excellent on these runs too. His ability to create on his own even when his offensive line doesn't give him any room is incredible. He uses burst combined with a very strong lower half to shed arm tackles, and he has a natural feel for when to make his move. Take this run against TCU. This happened in the first quarter. Texas lined up in a pistol formation. Out of the slot, UT motioned their tight end to the backfield to block the end man on the line of scrimmage by the right tackle. This play is called duo. The offensive line's goal is to create double teams at the point of attack, while the running back will read the Mike linebacker to make his cut. The issue with this play is the tight end completely whiffed on his assignment. He either doesn't know what he's supposed to do, or he just simply made an error. If his goal was a stiff block, he should have sealed 32 out of the play. Now, I obviously don't have UT's playbook, but if I was designing this run, there's no way I'm leaving the end man completely unblocked like he did here. Regardless, it really didn't matter. Since Bijan Robinson was the running back, he was able to break multiple tackles, use his vision to see the nickel cornerback and make a miss, and then finish the run breaking a third tackle by the safety. That's 3 tackles all within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage that Robinson had to overcome. This is an elite carry, and it further shows just how good Robinson is at seeing lanes before they happen, all combined with the ability to make the defense pay. In addition to having excellent vision, the other thing I noticed was how explosive an athlete he really is. His ability to start and stop and use excellent hip and ankle flexibility, it allows him to consistently break tackles. You just get this feeling that he has a natural understanding for where creases will form. I was blown away not by his upside, but simply by his consistency. Robinson runs with good pad height, he can accelerate on a dime to break an arm tackle, and he always fights for extra yards. I really like how he doesn't lose speed through his cuts. Many running backs will lose a little bit of their acceleration as they make their move, and this is not the case for Robinson. He does a great job of gaining ground on every step, and he seems to have the full package as a runner. From a scheme fit standpoint, I think his abilities are pretty universal. As I mentioned earlier, Texas runs a zone blocking scheme where they mix in gap runs to hit the backside of the defense. They also use a little bit of power and trap as change up to their base runs. Robinson has the patience to press the line of scrimmage and uses blockers to get down the field. I felt like at times he would occasionally predetermine a cut here and there, but it didn't happen often enough to be a big deal. I also noticed that he rarely attempted to use his speed to bounce outside. Most running backs have the opposite problem where they get too bounce happy, while Robinson seems to favor the backside cut instead. A balance is always necessary, but again, it rarely impacts his ability to pick up yards. Beyond being used as a traditional running back in UT's backfield, Robinson was also used as a receiver. Not only did he run routes out of the backfield, but he was split across the line of scrimmage. He lined up outside and ran hitch routes, but he also ran sit routes over the middle from the slot. I love this usage of his skill set. He was one of UT's best athletes last year, so using him in this versatile manner is a great way to attack opposing defenses. For example, against Oklahoma State, the Cowboys ran a 5-man blitz on 1st and 10. This put Robinson in one-on-one against the Mike linebacker number 15. Robinson identified that his hips were already flipped in an attempt to stop any sort of seam route up the hashes. With Robinson running a sit route over the middle, he had the opportunity for this play. He used a nice jab step to get the angle, and he sat in a space over the middle of the defense. The quarterback threw it to him, and Robinson was able to gain 17 yards on the play. I love how Robinson was able to gain yards after the catch. He was very good at picking up extra yards on many of the throws he caught. Needless to say, Robinson is a well-rounded back. The moment he steps into the NFL, he'll enter with a diverse skill set, and he'll be a value add to his offense. If a team lacks not only running back talent, but they can also line him up as a slot receiver too. Think of the Christian McCaffrey type of usage, and I think Robinson can do that on day one. I think this mismatch opportunity against a linebacker will definitely push him up boards. Now, while Robinson is one of my favorite running backs in the upcoming class, he isn't perfect. There are a few things he needs to work on. As a runner, I mentioned that he occasionally predetermines cuts, but to me, the main issue comes more to him as a receiver. He needs to improve at his route running underneath. He has plenty of speed and agility to set up his routes, but his footwork on stems needs to be improved. He can get better at attacking off coverage. What you'll see is that a defender will be standing there with flat feet, and Robinson doesn't press the outside of the cylinder before he makes his cut. He needs to do this in order to create hesitation. He needs to use his stem as the weapon to set that up. His cuts were generally fine, but I think he needs to work on the stem portion of his route to set them up in the first place. Outside of this, Robinson dropped 3 passes last season. While that doesn't seem like a lot, it represents a 10% drop rate. For running backs, that's slightly below average. Now, I don't think it's that big of a deal given his volume, but I had to point this out just to give you a well-rounded breakdown. The final thing I'll say is that Robinson isn't the best in pass protection. He didn't allow a ton of pressures or a ton of sacks or anything like that, but his overall technique can be improved. Robinson will sometimes throw his shoulder and not really use his hands. Also, his angle upon contact was a bit hit or miss, just simply because he has a habit of lowering his helmet. He needs to see through his block, and I think that plus more sustain with his hands will improve his abilities pretty quickly. Now, as of this moment, I have Robinson as a late first-round grade. Honestly, if he came out during the 2022 NFL Draft, he would have been my #1 running back off the board. I have a strong feeling he would have gone before the likes of Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker. That's not to say that either of those players are bad or don't deserve to go where they're picked, but Robinson is such a good player. I love how he plays the game with speed, elusiveness, and vision. Also, his versatility is something that will greatly help out a future NFL team. Well, that's all I have for you. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Do me a favor and subscribe to the channel, and I would greatly appreciate that. Also, if you want to find me on Twitter, go ahead and follow me at Samuel R. Gold.